Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're completely decoding the math behind building off-grid and hybrid solar setups. If you've ever stared at a massive wall of solar equipment and wondered how it all perfectly clicks together without, well, going up in smoke, you are exactly in the right place. So, grab a calculator, because we're going to figure out the numbers together.
Now, I gotta ask, are you blindly relying on online calculators to design your solar array? Look, relying purely on those drag and drop online tools, it can honestly be a recipe for disaster. Treating your solar design like some magic black box might literally leave you with a scorched black box of fried equipment. We don't want that. Understanding the underlying numbers yourself is absolutely the only way to ensure your system is both efficient and safe.
Here's our agenda for today. We'll be looking at 1, the manual calculation advantage, 2, decoding solar panel specs, 3, series versus parallel rules, 4, matching controllers and inverters, and finally, 5, efficiency and safety considerations. Let's get right into it. Section 1, the manual calculation advantage, taking control of your system.
So, as our sources point out, understanding manual calculations is essential for professional-level system design. The defining line between a hobbyist just kind of guessing their way through a build and a true pro designer is doing the manual calculation. Mastering this math, it's a total game changer. It empowers you to troubleshoot, upgrade, and optimize your own photovoltaic systems with total, absolute confidence.
Moving on to Section 2, decoding solar panel specs, the secret code.
Okay, so every single panel has a datasheet plastered on the back, and it basically acts as a secret code. You absolutely must know the difference between the raw testing numbers and the actual operating numbers. First up, Pmax. That's your laboratory perfect peak wattage. Then you've got VOC, open circuit voltage, which is the raw voltage when the panel is completely disconnected. Contrast that with VMP, the actual maximum power voltage you get under load. And the exact same logic goes for current. ISC is the raw short circuit max, while IMP is your operating amperage. Honestly, knowing when to use which metric is the entire foundation of solar math.
Section 3, series versus parallel rules, the rules of the game.
Now, how you wire everything up changes absolutely everything. Simply put, series solves your voltage needs, while parallel solves your amperage constraints. Connecting panels in series basically stacks them. You're adding your wattages and voltages together while the current stays exactly the same. It's perfect for hitting those high MPPT voltage requirements. Parallel wiring, on the flip side, adds your wattages and your current together while the voltage stays totally flat. You'd use this when you need sheer amperage without risking a crazy overvoltage scenario.
All right, Section 4, matching controllers and inverters, putting the math to the test. Let's reverse engineer some actual real-world hardware, starting with an SRNE 40-amp controller. Now, this specific unit has a strict maximum solar input limit of 100 volts. And listen, this isn't a suggestion. It is a hard physical boundary. If you send 105 volts into this unit, you will instantly fry the internals. No going back. So how does this actually translate into a practical setup? Let's say we want 550 watts for a 12-volt system. We choose two 275-watt panels and wire them in a 2S1P configuration. That's 2 in series, 1 parallel string. Because they're in series, we just add their raw open-circuit voltages together, which gives us 76.6 volts total. That leaves us a nice, comfortable, safe margin right beneath that 100-volt danger limit.
But watch what happens if you decide to scale up. If you jump to a 24-volt system and carelessly string 4 of those exact same panels in series, you're going to blow right past that 100-volt limit, and it's game over for your controller. Instead, the math dictates a 2S2P configuration. That's 2 pairs of series panels wired together in parallel. By doing that, your voltage stays at a perfectly safe 76.6 volts, while your wattage and current happily double.
Now, large hybrid inverters change the rules up just a little bit. Unlike those smaller controllers that just have a maximum cap, these hefty units actually require a minimum voltage just to wake up and turn on. Take a 5.5 kilowatt unit, for example. Its operational window demands that you stay below 500 volts, sure, but you also have to hit at least 120 volts just to trigger the thing. And this is exactly where huge series strings really shine. By connecting 10 massive 600-watt panels in a single series string, we add all those voltages together to hit 417 volts VOC. That gives us a massive 6,000-watt array that's perfectly tailored to sit right in the sweet spot, easily clearing that 120-volt minimum while safely staying well under the 500-volt cap. Now, some premium hardware out there gives you even more flexibility. If you're using something like a DY 5-kilowatt inverter, you get the luxury of dual MPPT trackers. That means you can run two entirely different panel configurations at the exact same time. Say you've got an east-facing roof and a west-facing roof. You can run a string of 450-watt panels on one tracker and a completely separate string of 500-watt panels on the other, and they won't interfere with each other at all. But here is the catch. The math still fiercely applies. Even with all the awesome flexibility of dual trackers, you still gotta manually calculate that neither string exceeds the hardware's total limits of 6,500 watts and 500 volts. You just have to treat each MPPT tracker as its own isolated mathematical equation.
All right, Section 5, Efficiency and Safety Considerations, a real-world reality check. So far, we've talked about perfect math. But datasheets assume a perfect, temperature-controlled laboratory. Out in the real world, panels ironically hate getting too hot. Ambient heat and wire resistance mean your system will realistically only ever hit about 95 to 98% efficiency. And because of this natural real-world degradation, engineers actually allow a tiny bit of over-paneling in total wattage to compensate for those environmental losses. But listen, before you even think about plugging anything in, remember that this isn't just about making things work. Failing to install proper DC protection between your array and your inverter is a massive high-voltage hazard. You absolutely, without a doubt, must include dedicated DC circuit breakers and surge protection devices in a junction box way before the power ever reaches your inverter. It is so crucial to realize that running strings generating over 400 volts behaves incredibly differently than the alternating current in your house. Direct current at this level, it sustains arcs, it jumps gaps, and it is entirely unforgiving. It literally demands professional respect and proper safety gear at all times. So, cracking this secret code ultimately comes down to balancing your boundaries. You just need to verify your open circuit voltage doesn't exceed the hardware cap. Double-check your short circuit current, and guarantee your maximum power voltage sits beautifully inside the inverter's operating window to wake the whole system up. Those numbers on the back of your panels aren't just polite suggestions, guys. They are literal engineering blueprints for grid independence. Once you really understand this math, you never have to rely on a generic software calculator again. So the next time you look at a wall of solar equipment, the real question is, now that you've got the code, what kind of absolute powerhouse are you going to build?